Mr. Lacroix, thank you for your testimony thus far. Of course, though a few of the comments that you made, I'm not sure I can completely agree with based on the information that I've received in terms of government dollars allocated to the CBC. It's my information that there weren't cuts in relation to the 2007, 08, and 08-09 years. And in actuality, when we really think about any significant cut to the CBC, we really have to go back to the mid-90s to look at the 4,000 jobs cut back in 1995, of course, under a different government. Mr. Chair, I won't name that government, but it was a different government. I'll move on, though, to the topic of actually something that has made the news somewhat recently, and it's something that I do have some concern about because, of course, we are going through some tougher economic times at the moment, as everyone is well aware. Your network is covering it quite well, I'll admit. And there's been some reports as to that the CBC has made some difficult choices in terms of various cuts. However, for instance, I think I read that CBC has cut some of its bonuses to its executives by about 50%. Would you be able to tell the committee how much money was still paid out in executives? So 50% of the previous amount. What was that amount?
So here's what you are referring to, sir. In the context of preparing the 2009-2010 budget, our 553 of our senior managers, or of our managers, are on an incentive program. They're not on a guaranteed bonus program, they're on an incentive program. These programs basically allow an executive at CBC to get a bonus if the targets are met, based on some percentage of his or her salary. This is incentive pay, but it's also pay directly related to the attainment or the achievement of targets. For 2009-2010, in the context of the budget, we reduced the target pay, the target bonuses, the target incentive pay for our senior executives by anywhere from 25 to 50%, the top senior people by 50%. This will represent a take-home hit for these senior executives that goes up to 20%. That is, sir, what you are referring to.
And my questions come mostly just from constituents. I heard we got a number of phone calls and in my riding of Edmonton Sherwood Park emails on this issue, just mostly because of the economic situation that's happening right now. And it's been quoted in the media that Sylvain Lefrance, the CBC Executive Vice President for French Services, racked up more than $80,000 in just 1 year on expenses such as theater tickets, hotels, including $6,000 on lunches, and $10,000 at a $1,000 a plate fundraiser, which prompted a written response from our minister. Then we come to find out last Wednesday that a number of Sun media articles that, again, in just 1 year, the CBC spent at least $61,000 on 9 meetings between January and June. And some of those expenses, they include $21,600 for 21 human resources managers and executives to stay at the Chateau Vauvin in Mont-Tremblant, Quebec for 2 days, almost $3,500 for meetings at the Renaissance Hotel in Toronto for senior television managers, over $18,000 for half-a-day conference at the Casino Lac Leman, just over $6,000 for a luxury retreat in the Laurentians for 22 executives at Manor Saint Savoie, over $1,600 at a dinner meeting, over $3,500 a day at St. Andrew's Golf Club in Toronto, and another $1,500 for meetings at Hotel Le Germain. And this is on top of bonuses for the fiscal year 2007-2008, which topped out at almost $964,000 for 12 executives. So, I mean, you could see why the constituents were concerned. And I know spokespeople for the CBC say that these spending practices are in line with corporate policy, and that and they've said that when face-to-face meetings are required, off-site meetings are usually better to avoid disruptions. So do you think that the spending of close to $150,000 for 9 meetings is good corporate policy?
The numbers that you're referring to, sir, are 2006 expenses. We're in 2009. Let me tell you what I've done since I've arrived, because you are referring, though, to an important point: the use of taxpayers' money, and I respect that a lot. And we are very well aware at CBC Radio-Canada of the importance of using these funds smartly. So I came in January 2008. Our policies now read as follows, or are organized as follows. All of the expenses of our senior executive team members go through me. My expenses goes to the chair of the board of directors. The direct reports of our senior executive team members are also vetted, all of their expenses through them. And in November 2008, on November 24, I'll remember for a long time, because that's the email I sent out when we were trying to cut expenses, we froze all discretionary expenses. So at the end of the day, our monitoring of these expenses right now are, I think, very solid. Our monitoring is solid. But I have to tell you also that meetings, we are a company that is in 10 provinces, plus the north. We have 10,000 employees, 553 managers. We want to bring these people together in normal business practices on a regular basis, doing smart things. So we are going to continue doing these meetings. It's important for our team. It's important. We are in 80 locations. They have to be at one point in time in the same room, not all of them. But we think this is important to make sure that we use the taxpayers' monies to the best use.
Can you give me some idea as to what the average salary is at CBC? Do you know that number?
No, I don't offhand.
Okay. Would it surprise you if access to information indicated it was around $76,000?
No, oh, you mean for an overall employee, $76,000, I think, on the television side, and maybe a bit higher, $84,000, $85,000. Those are the numbers we work with. Yes.
Okay.
Okay,
that's fine.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, obviously, as I've indicated, these are challenging times.
Yes.
My, for the people in my riding, I don't know that they're going to, obviously everybody laments job losses, everybody does. But where I have an average household income of about $60,000, they would probably look at that and say, well, how much more taxes can I pay? How much more do you want me to pay when you're already paying people more than my entire household makes? Do you think about that?
Oh, sure, sir. And that's why we keep coming to you and saying that for all the services that CBC Radio-Canada delivers to Canadians, the cost to Canadians is $34 per person, and that ranks us number 15 out of 18 of the Western countries that were surveyed by Nordicity. And that's why, when we keep looking at this $34 number for all the services that we provide across the country as large as we have, with 6 time zones and 2 official languages, we keep saying that this is a number that makes it difficult for us to continue delivering services for Canadians the way a public broadcaster wants to, and that's why we're calling for a memorandum of understanding to be negotiated.
Okay.
I spent almost 19 years as a police officer. I'm quite shocked to hear today, for the first time, the average wage or salary of a CBC employee surpasses by quite a bit the average amount that a police officer makes, who puts his life or her life on the line every single day. And to hear you say that it may be higher than $76,000, maybe more than $84,000 on average, when our men and women who are living the news make far less than that, and the people simply reporting on it are making far more on the taxpayer's dollar, is quite a shock to me. The other comment I wish to make, sir, is that the $4 million that you speak about when you talk about these bonuses, I assure you police officers are getting no bonuses for doing a good job, and I would hope that all Canadians expect that when we assist corporations, that all employees are expected to do a good job regardless of any kind of bonus. So those are my 2 comments. Now I'd like to proceed to a question, sir. I too have been hearing often from my constituents about this issue. And as you know, it is a Conservative government who created the CBC, and so we are engaged, we are committed that this is something that reflects a Canadian identity. And many of my constituents would argue that they would like to see 100% Canadian content. Now, it's been said in your dissertation that you wanted to keep some key priorities, and I'm going to repeat what you've said in your dissertation. The key priorities were including keeping radio advertising free, enhancing new media, protecting our regional footprint, maintaining our distinctive Canadian programming, and our cross-cultural initiatives. Well, sir, I am seeing more and more shows like Martha Stewart, Wheel of Fortune, Jeopardy, The Simpsons, and now recently we've learned about a reality show or two reality shows that you plan to put on the airwaves called Battle of the Blades and Super Speller. And I'd like to know how your key priorities, how any of these American shows fit into the key priorities that you've indicated you're trying to keep.
So let's talk about Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy, because these are always the two that attract most attention, because you can't miss them if you watch television on CBC in the evenings. These two properties are very important to our strategy. One, because they add and they bring revenues to CBC Radio-Canada that we immediately reinvest in Canadian programming. Number two, they serve as raises to our schedules. We use these, and they are strategically placed in our programming schedule to bring Canadians, about 1 million of them watch Jeopardy every night, into our programming schedule, which is all Canadian, in prime time from 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. So are we happy that we have to use Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune to generate revenue so that we can invest them in Canadian programming? The answer is, if I could. That is not the best way of managing, not of managing, but this is not the best of decisions. But they serve important purposes, they generate revenues, and they lift our schedues. So that's why, Madame, they are there.
Thank you, Monsieur.